The R word has been making headlines lately.
The future self was the amazing United States of America, that dream that we had in the 50s. That dream died decades ago.
The economic storm clouds are approaching fast as financial experts hear that we're headed towards a recession. Record high inflation is slowing down consumer spending, and retail giants like Walmart and Target are starting to feel it. With increasing anxiety around the topic, it's natural for you to be concerned, or at least curious about how the impending recession affects you, and whether or not there is any way for you to protect yourself during this time. According to Raoul Pal, the government is actively trying to drive demand down.
If they put up your mortgage rates, you spend less in restaurants. If you're finding that your food bills at the supermarket are 30% higher than they were, you spend less on something else.
This stops the price of goods from rising, because when you're paying too much for one thing, you reevaluate your needs and finances and decide there are some things you can do without.
Right, so let's think of oil right now. Because of the Russian situation, there is not enough oil for the current demand out there. So the oil price keeps going up. So you and I pay more to drive our cars or to heat or cool our houses. So the only way of solving that one, because you can't get the Russian oil back into the market, is to make us use less oil. The price does that automatically because it gets more expensive we do it. But if you can also then just lower general demand for things, we'll drive our cars less.
Because of this inflation, your savings are getting depleted. And in less than a year's time, your money will be worth less. It's already worth 8% below what it was last year. So you are increasingly bearing the weight of this recession as time goes by.
We're told we can't buy as much, and we're forced into it by rising our mortgage costs and our food costs and all of this stuff. And eventually, things will slow down, people will be put out of jobs a bit, that kind of stuff. And then the overall demand in the economy comes down and prices come down.
Now, this is hardly the first recession we have faced. But you may be asking why it keeps happening so often. The truth is, recessions are actually an important time that you can use to build wealth.
But I believe we need to actually go through a recession, and our politicians need to allow this to happen, but it's actually good for the marketplace. I'll explain to you why. It's the best time to build wealth, and only the prepared will prevail during this time.
Host of Valuetainment and entrepreneur Patrick Bet-David talks about how he turned a bad situation into a good one during the COVID-19 pandemic, as offices were shutting down and he was forced to reevaluate his work life.
To all of a sudden, I can't see my clients because I have to do Zoom. We didn't know how to do that. We made a shift immediately. So when that crisis happened, I was scared. I went to the office, was there till 3 o'clock in the morning, studying, saying, what the hell is a pandemic? How ugly can this thing be? What can the market react? How will the market react?
He wasn't alone. Almost overnight, the pandemic had changed the lives of millions. It started with the 2020 stock market crash, which saw major indices drop 20 to 30% in late February and March. By the time October rolled around, over 10 million unemployment cases had been filed in the United States. But more importantly, we recovered.
9 out of 10 times, the panic is so big that people panic, and then all of a sudden, we recover 6 months later. 90% of the top 10 pandemics we had in America, we recovered 6 months later.
During the downturn, Bet-David made investments in real estate, stocks, and even rare baseball cards, which he purchased for a little over $500,000 and sold later for $2.1 million.
The point is, when people are scared, money is made because of people who have cash and can make decisions.
So how can you create this opportunity for yourself? Before we can explore that, it's necessary to understand what's happening at the moment. 8 in 10 small business owners in America are expecting a recession and trying to prepare for it the best way they can. But when previously thought this would happen in 2022, signs are now increasingly pointing to 2023. In fact, the most commonly used criteria for a recession haven't been met. Not yet, anyway. The National Bureau of Economic Research stated that recessions require a significant decline in economic activity that is spread across the economy and lasts more than a few months. And that hasn't happened since the pandemic in 2020. Going by that standard, the US isn't sitting in a recession, nor will it be for a while. Economic output did decline at an annual rate of 1.4% through the first 3 months of 2022. But that's a blip on the radar compared to the 31.2% plunge in the second quarter of 2020. The bulk of the decline was also powered by slowdowns in net exporting and inventory buildup. When you look at it, we are currently in a recovery period. Job creation, for example, is twice as strong as the pre-pandemic trend. The U.S. added over 300,000 payrolls through May, proving the forecasts wrong and keeping the country on track. In addition to that, Americans are back where they were before, spending big money on retail and restaurants, with spending in April soaring to $677.7 billion. So it doesn't seem like high prices are curbing demand, but they will soon enough. The forecasters may have predicted that 2022 would be the year of the downturn, but they didn't anticipate the slow shift in spending habits. Demand for goods shot higher early in the pandemic as lockdowns curbed spending on in-person services. That drove goods spending well above the pre-crisis trend, where it remains to this day. But that's going to change as 2022 comes to a close. The resulting downturn may not be as bad as some make it out to be, but it will be enough to slow economic growth in 2023. But what's crucial right now is to examine how you can protect yourself from the inevitable downturn, whenever it comes.
So GE got started in 1908. This is what happens during market crashes and recessions. They got started during a recession. HP, Hewlett-Packard, during World War II, recession. Hyatt, recession. Microsoft, recession. Uber, Airbnb, a lot of these companies, Slack, again, recession.
There is undoubtedly a massive opportunity for growth during an economic downturn. You face less competition, have greater access to talent as people are getting laid off by companies, and that talent is priced at real market value, and you get better rates for rent and from any vendors involved in your business. You just need to be prepared for the crash and ensure you have the means to start that business when things are down. Bet David lists 8 ways you can start preparing for the crash, starting with anticipation and understanding your risk tolerance.
Have a sit down with you and your wife or your husband or your family and say, what is my risk tolerance? At what level am I willing to risk a little bit? Because this is a season that if you're able to manage your risk properly, you can really come out stronger afterwards. But don't make any moves if you can't tolerate risk based on your age, based on your tolerance, period.
The third piece of advice is to carry cash. While many entrepreneurs and experts have stated that cash is trash, the truth is, during a recession, cash is your friend.
He who has cash in a recession is king. So that's that combination of income and opportunity. You've got income, you've got some cash, and now everything's on fire sale prices. You're the king.
The idea isn't to be 100% liquid, but it is helpful to have cash in hand as prices drop and you need to buy things on a sale. Bet David also advises you to stay away from major real estate deals. Make and solidify your business plan and start investing a portion of your money into precious metals.
People that are pro-gold, people will have an argument. Oh, I told you gold has done this. Yeah, they may be right. Gold may hit 2,000, 2,500. So you may want to have a little bit of maybe 2 to 5% precious metals, and some of the crypto is going to probably recover. But, the precious metals may be something for you to look at.
He also recommends you protect your career by reinventing yourself and reworking your approach to business. If you spent your time during lockdown improving yourself by reading books and taking courses, Bet David says it doesn't make so much as a dent, because the people who didn't do that still made money. The last 2 years are lost. It matters what you do in the next 2 years. If you show up to your company tomorrow as a leader with a good attitude, sound judgment, fresh ideas, and set a good example, this is when people will notice. And this is when companies will want to retain you. And finally, take the time out to study your investment portfolio. When you plan early and prepare for a crash, you're setting yourself up for success when 6 months down the line, things pick up again, and the economy is in recovery. It's important to remember that recessions are a regular part of a normal economic cycle. Long-term financial plans will see some declines, and it has been the case since the Second World War because between then and now, we've gone through about a dozen recessions, with the last one being as recent as 2020. Those who understand what's happening and prepare for it stand to gain 2 to 5 years after it dies down. Those who don't suffer the worst of it, even after it's over. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, make sure you like it and subscribe to the Be Inspired channel, where we regularly upload educational and motivational content.